So for the last couple weeks between this and a couple podcasts, I've been talking fairly extensively about honey and what's going on there. And there's some outside industry issues that I kind of wanted to bring up and go over. All right. So honey effectively engineered their browser extension to cheat and overwrite pixels from other companies, right? They got sued via class action lawsuit, one filed in January this year, contains a detail that everybody seems to really be glossing over. So if you go into their lawsuit, specifically paragraph 253, internal Rakuten emails between Rakuten and PayPal showing repeated violations. This effectively means that not only did Rakuten know, they had it documented. They communicated it directly to both Honey and then after the acquisition to PayPal as well. PayPal was aware that its subsidiary and what they had purchased was effectively just a fraud engine that was repeatedly violating network rules. Right? So let's think of what this means in terms of a timeline. So PayPal acquires Honey January of 2020 for $4 billion. The selective stand down code, the Dieselgate system, dates back to 2017. So this behavior way predates the acquisition. But where it starts to get really uncomfortable for both sides is that after the acquisition, PayPal didn't shut it down. They kept this selective stand down code running. And according to Ben Edelman's analysis, they actually made it more aggressive. The point threshold to trigger the manipulation went from 501 points in 2022 to 65,000 points by 2025. That's not legacy code sitting in the collectors, right? It's an active development. Somebody at PayPal was logging in and turning up the dial. Meanwhile, over at Rakuten, and all other networks really should have been here, we now know Rakuten was aware of the violations and that they continued to allow Honey to defraud publishers and brands on their network for years. At a minimum, through 2020, 21, 2, 3, 4, they didn't remove Honey until January 2026, more than 6 years after there was notice that they had violated and continued to violate platform rules. So why didn't Rakuten go public with the violations all the way back in 2020, right? They had emails. They had evidence of stand down violations. They had a contractual basis to remove Honey from their network at any time. And they knew PayPal was aware and continuing to defraud by overwriting pixels. So if a network knows a publisher is committing, right, effectively what resembles wire fraud, systematically overwriting affiliate cookies while building, code to specifically evade detection, why would you keep that publisher on your network for an additional 6 years? There's really only two explanations here. Either Rakuten believed they could resolve it privately and continued to fail repeatedly for 6 years and not tell anybody else or any of the brands, or the revenue that Honey was generating on Rakuten made it financially uncomfortable to actually do something. And neither answer is very good. Let me be clear. This is not just a Rakuten problem. This is a systemic problem. The complaints names multiple networks, right? Impact, Commission Junction, Rakuten, ShareASale, AWin. And these networks maintain records of the cookie replacements and the commission diversions, records that allegedly would show systemic patterns across thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of transactions. So the networks have all the data, they have the tracking, they could see this happening in their own systems in real time, right? The stand down violations were completely visible in everyone's attribution logs. Yet it took a YouTuber with a forensics background to crack this story. And that should alarm every affiliate marketer watching this video, because the implicit deal in affiliate marketing is that the networks are the referees. They're setting the rules. they enforce the rules. And when a publisher worth billions of dollars breaks the rules in a way that diverts commissions away from every other publisher on that network, the expectation should be that the network takes action. The fact that enforcement only happened after, number one, a massive amount of public exposure, and two, a massive user offboarding from Honey made it financially convenient, tells you absolutely everything you need to know about affiliate compliance and how it works. There are still networks that are published, allowing Honey to be a publisher on their network. And number two, this is the second thing that is really kind of bothering me here at an industry level. Shopping browser extensions as a product category have no organic engagement from actual shoppers, and the data supports it completely. Let me explain. Chrome Web Store tracks something called active users, not total installs, but the number of people who actually have the extension enabled and have opened Chrome in the last 7 days. And what that data tells us is that there's a massive gap between how many people actually have an extension installed and how many people are actually using it. A 2025 analysis found that approximately 60% of users never uninstall extensions once they're installed, regardless of whether they use them or not. Extensions pretty much become like browser clutter. People install them, forget about them, and they end up just sitting there. Think about what that means for a product like Honey, right? Honey ran automatically. You didn't have to click it. You were never going to click it. So they automatically activated it. It sat in your browser and it waited for you to hit a checkout. That's when it fired up. Same with Capital One Shopping. Same with almost all of the coupon browser extensions. So when they talk about 20 million active or 20 million users, what does that actually mean? How many of these people actively chose to use Honey on any given purchase? How many knew it was even running, right? And this brings me to Capital One and their settlement, which happened in December of 2025. And it's critically important context that really isn't getting talked about at all. Capital One Shopping, formerly WikiBuy, was sued for the exact same behavior, overwriting affiliate cookies at checkout, claiming last click attribution even when the extension provided no discount and the user did not engage. So again, December of last year, Capital One agreed to a roughly $4 million settlement. The court in Virginia allowed claims for unjust enrichment, interference, and violations of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act to proceed. Capital One committed to business practice changes for at least 2 years, including compliance reviews and an ombudsman for affiliate concerns. $4 million, years of systemic commission diversion across an extension with approximately 10 million users, right? Now, I'm not here to argue whether the settlement amount is adequate. What I want to point out is the Capital One Shopping case established that this behavior, passive cookie overwriting in browser extensions, is legally actionable. A federal court said these claims have merit. So why is Capital One Shopping the only one that's really settled here, right? Microsoft Shopping has been sued for the exact same thing. Klarna, same shit. Retail Me Nots, Genie, same exact behaviors, and obviously Honey, right? Where the class action is still ongoing. This isn't one bad actor. It's kind of a fraudulent product category. And this is where I really want to understand and kind of dig in on the affiliate side of things. Both for publishers and brands, there has been really no outcry or pressure for affiliate networks to disclose what they knew and when. And if you're an affiliate network and you know that browser extensions are one of your largest publisher categories by transaction volume, and you know that these extensions run automatically without active user engagement, and you know that there's repeated stand down violations across numerous different iterations of the same product effectively, why are you not proactively now examining all extension traffic? The technology exists. Browser extensions, phone home to servers all the time. They inject scripts at checkouts, they modify URLs. All of this is visible in the traffic data. Networks have these attribution logs. They can see when a cookie gets overwritten and as the click ID changes. They know what happens in those last seconds before a purchase. And effectively, one compliance expert put it kind of like this. When you audit an affiliate program, typically They remove 65 to 90% of the top performers as fraudulent, right? And total sales stay the same. Revenue can actually go higher because the brand stops losing so much margin on commissions that were never actually legitimately earned. So here, the networks knew, or had every availability and chose not to know, that a product with super low organic user engagement and incredibly high transaction volume should be a red flag. It's a red flag for anybody objectively looking at the outcomes. It's the definition of last click attribution arbitrage. The extension is failing to drive demand. It's not creating any new customers. It's not driving any incremental sales. It's simply intercepting existing customers at the point of purchase and then claiming credit. Yet, this was fully accepted and celebrated by the industry for years. They ran it on autopilot. And when the fraud was finally exposed, it wasn't by the networks, it was by a YouTuber. So, to kind of put a finer point on this, right? On Honey, Ben Edelman's analysis shows the selective shutdown code was there in 2017. Rakuten had internal emails asking PayPal to change the code to stop the violations. The down timer was originally set to just 6 minutes, meaning if a shopper browsed for 7 minutes after clicking an affiliate link, he would overwrite the cookie and steal the conversion. Right? After MegaLag's first video went out in 2024, Honey quietly increased that timer from 6 minutes to 1 hour. That's really not a company that knows what it's doing. That's a company that knows they got caught and immediately begins to try and cover their tracks. Waiting 6 years to actually take action against Honey when the evidence was sitting in the attribution data the entire time isn't really just a failure of enforcement. It's kind of a failure of the entire compliance model that affiliate marketing is really built on. So what needs to change here, right? Networks need mandatory and proactive monitoring of all browser extension traffic. No reactive audits over this. Automated, continuous monitoring using attribution data they already effing have. If a publisher conversion pattern shows last click cookie overwrites with no corresponding user engagement, right? That should immediately trigger an investigation, not 6 years later, immediately. Second, the industry needs to be transparent on enforcement. When a network discovers a publisher violating stand down policies, that should be disclosed to all affected affiliates. The affiliates whose commissions were diverted, they have a right to know. Keeping it private, handling it through internal emails, that only come out when it's time for a lawsuit, that only serves to protect the network and the thief at the expense of all of the legitimate publishers. Third, browser extensions, they need to be held to a higher standard of disclosure, really. Google's March 2025 policy update was a start, right? They prohibited extensions from claiming affiliate commissions without providing discounts. But that doesn't really go far enough. Extensions should be required to disclose to the user in real time when they're modifying attribution. The user should know, right? The original affiliate should know. Right now, this all happens invisibly. And fourth, and this is kind of a big one, there actually needs to be accountability for the complicity. It's not enough to kick Honey off the network in 2020, all pat ourselves on the back. Networks had evidence of violations for years, and they chose not to act. That is a question for regulators, for the FTC, because the merchants who paid for those commissions and the affiliates who lost out on being paid were harmed massively, not only by the fraud, but also by the delay. And here's the thing about affiliate. It really only works if your attribution is trustworthy. The entire model is built on the idea that you can track who drove a sale and pay them accordingly. When a $4 billion subsidiary of a publicly traded company builds code specifically to evade compliance testing, and the networks that are supposed to police it fail to for 6 years, that's not a Honey problem. That's an affiliate marketing problem. And if we don't get it fixed, if networks and the industry continue to treat this as a one-time scandal instead of what it is, which is a systemic failure, then the next honey is likely already out there running automatically and overriding cookies and claiming commissions. And it knows that nobody's going to look for it proactively. So that's where I'll leave it for today. If you're in the affiliate space and you want to talk about this, feel free, drop a comment. I'd love to hear from people, anybody who is at a network or previously at a network, or from publishers who lost commissions. If you're a merchant who paid commissions to Honey that should have gone to other affiliates, love to hear from you too, especially if you're one who used it as a way to inflate your top of funnel commissions as a way to drive efficiencies. And if you found this valuable, please drop a like, a comment, and subscribe, because this story is likely only going to grow and it doesn't really seem like it's being widely covered. Till next time.